All right. The Special Education Advisory Committee meeting on February 2nd will now begin. We will have we will have roll call by Dr. Sanders.
Brianna Como,
Present.
Willetta August, Adriana Bartow, Jennifer Collins Lancelin, Nakima Jack, Karen Jamison, Alyssa Lang, Avery Price, Dr. Julie Price, Allison Wilson. 5 present, no quorum.
All right. We are moving on to item number 3, but because we do not have a quorum, we will not approve the minutes at this time. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the good stuff. All right. Tonight we will have a presentation from Ms. Jackie Pierce. She is the Executive Director of Family Helping Families. She's going to give some valuable information about her organization and how they can help not only with education, but other needs that families may have. So I'm going to let her talk and give some more information.
It's on red now. All right, so I am Jackie Pierce. I'm the director of Bayouland Families Helping Families. I have a degree in birth to 5 early intervention and an associate's degree in child development and preschool management. In the past, I was a director of a private school in Stafford, Virginia. When we came back to Louisiana, I was a regular education teacher, and then I moved into special education with the public schools. I was an early steps intake coordinator, and now I'm working with Bayouland Families Helping Families. So to give you guys a little bit of history about Families Helping Families, back in the late 1900s, it was prior to 1988, when there was a child in a family that had a disability, they were either institutionalized or they were put into residential facilities. And in 1988, the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council had a conference for families of individuals with disabilities, children with disabilities. And they asked the question, what are the things that you need to be able to support your child in your home? So after this meeting, everyone got together and they were like, we came up with all these wonderful plans, and it's all about the home and community supports that they have in place today. And Mike Vasco from Bossier City said, well, what are we going to do with all this information? Are we just going to leave it up on the walls, or are we actually going to implement these things? And that's when in 1989, Act 378 was passed, and that is our family support system. And then in 1991, the first Families Helping Families Center was opened as a home and community-based support system. And we've been in business for over 30 years. So who we are 9 centers in the state of Louisiana. It's kind of awkward. We are 9 centers in the state of Louisiana. There is 1 center for every Louisiana Department of Health region. We are independently run, so we each have our own board. We are nonprofit organizations. We are family directed, and that means it's kind of got a double side meaning. So family directed in a sense of when our families come to us with questions, they want to learn more about certain topics, that's the information that we use to drive what types of trainings and webinars and services we'll put on for the families. The other family direction is everyone who's employed at Families Helping Families across the state, they have a personal relationship with the disability, so they have navigated the disability system themselves. We do promote advocacy through empowerment, because our goal is to give everyone the information, the resources, what kind of questions to ask, things like that, so that they can advocate for themselves or their family members. We are a one-stop shop for disability information. All of the centers have various partnerships throughout the state with other agencies and organizations that provide disability services. And we support all disabilities, all special health care needs, and all ages. We do believe that individuals with disabilities deserve a meaningful life in the community, and we are a part of Louisiana Council's Advocacy Network, otherwise known as LACAN. With LACAN, we are the grassroots advocacy organization. We are the yellow shirts at the Capitol building, at the Bessie meetings. And what we do is we link individuals with disabilities and their family members with our legislators, our decision makers, so that they can share their experiences and provide testimony to how any policy changes will affect their disabled family member or themselves. So our programs that we do, we provide peer support, education and training, and information and resources. I'm sorry, I didn't go into more. This is one of my many presentations that I have. So with our peer support, we do have peer support meetings, parent support meetings that we do monthly, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. Our education and training, I did kind of cover that with, we are driven by the questions that come into our centers as to what information we're providing. And information, resources, and outreach, what we're doing is it's our job to get the most up-to-date information so that we can provide the appropriate resources for the families who come to us. So whenever it comes to nonprofit organization, a lot of people kind of don't think that we run the same way as a business does. So we still have all the bills to pay, wages to pay, and things like that. So these are Bayou Land Families Helping Families funders. So we have the Louisiana Department of Education, the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council, the Department of Health, Disability Access Solutions, South Central Louisiana Human Service Authority, and the Human Resources and Services Administration. So HRSA is our federal grant. We are Louisiana's Family to Family Health Information Center. We're the only one in the state, so monthly I'm meeting with people across the nation to discuss what they're doing out in their states, if we can implement that here. We just did Capitol Hill visits. It was mid-January that we had done that. And it's all advocating for individuals with disabilities to have those, to be on the same playing field, the same level playing field as others. And then, of course, we have other individual donations and foundation and community grants that we write for. I just wrote for Thibodeau Service League. We wrote a grant. We had $1,000 awarded to us to purchase location devices for elopers, because we had they had Brian Vasquez out in New Orleans. I'm not sure if y'all heard about him. He eloped from his home, and the ending was pretty tragic. So, you know, they have a lot of concern that arises with that. But they're the tile tags, because they work for both Apple and Android. But the whole point of that is it's not just for children. So there are elderly elopers as well. All of our services are free. So there is no concern for costs or worry for, you know, how am I going to afford this? Everything that we do is free of charge. This is a list of our centers across the state. Like I said, we have 9 centers across the state, and we each have, how I showed you my funding page, we each have our own separate funders. We are all funded with the Department of Education, the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council, and the Louisiana Department of Health. So here's the meat and potatoes why we're here. So we assist families with special education services, and our goal, like I've said before, is to equip and empower families with the information that they need to be able to self-advocate. So we provide educational webinars. What we like to do is we like to meet and sit down with families so that we can go into in-depth discussion about what their concerns are, or if they're confused with special education plans with all the acronyms that are in there. So we kind of somewhat act as a translator, because that language isn't typical for people outside of the arena of education. We discuss all of their concerns and how to approach those concerns, and we assist families in making requests, which those requests might be for an evaluation, they might be for a review meeting to clarify information, might be a progress meeting, or they might have new concerns that have come up, or a new diagnosis that has come up that they'd like to bring up to the IEP team. And like I said, we do translate the information. So we help families initiate meetings and evaluation requests, understand their child's rights in special education. So, and Ms. Deborah and I were discussing it earlier. So at every special education meeting, families have to receive, by law, the Special Education Rights Handbook. I have never, and my children went through special education. I can't tell you how many special education meetings I attend per year. I have never had any school district, any school sit down and actually go over what those parents' rights are. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, to understand those rights, understand the plan, and understand not only the legal obligations of the school, but also the legal limitations, because these plans are supports, they're not do-fors. So, and the ultimate goal is to provide all the support so that children don't need the supports down the road. Our goal is to give them everything that they need to come out of special education. So with the IEP team, they have the officially designated representative, or the ODR, who is typically an administrator in the school, and they have the legal obligation to be there for the entire meeting. And I have ended meetings because an ODR needed to go take a phone call. They have to be present for that entire meeting. The regular education teacher, special education teacher, the student's parents, the school evaluation representative, the student. We love having the student in there because a lot of times students do take accountability for how they're performing in class, what the outcomes are. And then they have the other special education providers, which might be your speech therapist, occupational therapist, physical therapist, and things like that. And then any other individual or agencies at the discretion of the parent or the local education agency. So the parent is allowed to invite whoever they want. They could invite their neighbor's cousin to come sit and provide support for them if they want. They could bring an advocate, like what we do with Bayou-Land Families Helping Families. And it is up to the parent to excuse any of those people that are listed on there. So if the parent doesn't want to excuse, let's say there's a speech pathologist that can't attend a meeting, the parent has the right to reschedule the meeting so that that speech therapist is sitting in there to provide input and progress. So remember, special education is the law, and it is the responsibility of the school to ensure legal compliance with all aspects of special education on its campus, which is why it is so very important for ODRs to be present in their meetings. So we do get complaints. A lot of times we have families call us and complain, and to be honest, a lot of them want to go straight to the State Department of Education, but I don't believe in that. So I do say that there is the chain of command. You go to the teacher. If going to the teacher is not successful, go to the principal. If that's not successful, go to the district. If that's not successful, that's when we start looking at the State Department of Education. So some of our common complaints that we have is that the school won't evaluate students. Schools are required, they don't have to do an evaluation. If they do deny an evaluation, the denial has to be in writing, and there has to be supporting documentation as to why the evaluation is denied. There's a lack of communication and collaboration between the parents and the schools, which doesn't give parents the ability to be meaningful participants in the meeting. Parents have the right, according to the Rights Handbook, parents have the right to be meaningful participants and be prepared to discuss their child's education in the meeting. So a lot of times all it takes is an email. And everyone has the same goal for these students, and it's success. Accommodations or modifications not being provided or being removed outside of meetings. This is a new thing this year where some schools are removing accommodations without notifying the parents and not doing it officially in a meeting, which is somewhat scary. But that's one of those things, and believe it or not, some schools say that they don't know that they can't do that. But that's where we come in to advocate for those families. Removals has been another huge thing with us this year, both documented and undocumented. So anytime a student is removed from a classroom, it could be to go to a principal's office for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, that is considered a removal. And most of the time that is undocumented. When parents are called to come pick up their children because of because of a behavioral issue, that's a removal. And so we're now telling parents to get it in writing why they're coming pick up their child and ask, is my child being suspended? So that's something that we're dealing with. And then targeted behaviors to change students' placement. And what that is, we are seeing in a couple of our school districts that very specific schools are looking at one behavior that the child is doing, and some of them are kind of egging those behaviors on so that they can send the child to another classroom, another school, or to their, I don't know, I'm not sure what y'all have in St. Mary Parish as far as like a pass school or alternative. There you go. So that's been happening pretty often. SRO involvement in school disciplinary matters. SROs are supposed to be informal counselors so that students can confide in a trusted adult. They're supposed to be educators of safety topics, and they are supposed to be law enforcers. So if there is a behavioral problem that is a typical behavioral problem, or I'll say just any type of typical school issue, SROs should not be involved in that. And then schools not accepting a diagnosis from a doctor. The thing with that is schools are not required to go through what doctors are saying. However, they still have to do their due diligence and do the evaluation to find out what the academic needs for that child are so that they can provide those supports if they are necessary. So these are your IDEA or Section 1508 or Bulletin 1508 recognized disabilities. You have autism, deafness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, which does include ADHD, specific learning disability, traumatic brain injury, visual impairment, including blindness, and then there's developmental delay up until the age of 9. So at the age of 9, if there are no other diagnoses, the child who was receiving a special education plan could be dropped from special education plan with just a developmental delay diagnosis. So that another evaluation would be necessary to see if any other supports would be provided. Talked about this a little bit. So dispute resolution, you go to the teacher, then the principal, the district, and then the state. And then with the state level complaints, you have the special education ombudsman. You can do a formal complaint, mediation or facilitation, due process, or you can do an OCR, which is an Office of Civil Rights complaint, but that is very specific to certain topics. The IEP facilitation, mediation, and informal complaints are all voluntary. So that means that both parties, as far as the family and the school, would have to agree to those. And then your formal state complaint and due process hearing, that is something that comes from the state. You'd have to go through the state to get that. There is a 2-year time limit for informal complaints, formal complaints, and due process hearings, but there are no time limits as far as the IEP facilitation or mediation would go. So we have common misconceptions that RTI can delay an evaluation. RTI can go congruent with an evaluation and could go alongside and parallel that, but they can't say, oh, well, we're going to try RTI first and it's probably going to work. So you'd have to actually do that evaluation. Whether a student qualifies for special education services is up to the teacher or principal. That is not the case. That is why they have a full IEP team. They have an SBLC, the School Building Level Committee, who will sit down and discuss what needs they are seeing. They'll go through work samples, anecdotal notes, and things like that to determine whether an evaluation would be necessary. The school can just say no to evaluating students. We said they have to put it in writing and they have to provide supporting documentation. Parents determine what supports are included in the plan. Parents are supposed to be meaningful participants whenever it comes to their child's education. However, it's the entire team that's going to discuss this, and whenever it comes down to specific supports, I'll say the LEA, educators, they're going to be the ones who are more of your content experts as far as what needs are necessary to support success. Schools do not have to provide services if they do not have the money or personnel. Schools actually receive state funding for all of their special education students to ensure that everyone receives a free, appropriate public education, and then students will automatically pass everything. No, again, special education is made to be a support, not a do for. Recommendations that we make to parents is do all of your communicating in writing. If you do email, it's going to have a date and time stamp on it. So whenever those timelines of special education timelines come into play, you're going to have full documentation of everything. Document all removals, be them formal or informal. Understand your rights, the rights booklet, the bulletins, all the timelines. And that's a lot of what we do with Families Helping Families is we provide education to let families know that. If you see something, say something. I was a special education teacher. I always advocated for the best legal interest of the student. And anytime something was inappropriately said or done in a meeting, I would say, oh, well, according to this bulletin, this is what we have to do. And I wasn't very well liked for it. But it's the law. And we're all here for the sake of the children. So see something, say something. Keep all your paperwork together. It's Families Helping Families of Greater New Orleans. They are the Louisiana Parent Training and Information Center. They actually have a wonderful, it's a binder that you could put together to keep all your special education and health documents, because they do go hand in hand, to keep all of that together and document everything. I used to keep a planner that I would document all of my children's things in. And that way, if something came up, I could go back and be like, oh no, on August 26th, this is what happened. You know, there was a removal here, or just whatever the case may be. And remember, we're all advocates for the children. We're all looking out for their best interest. So our upcoming event. So tomorrow we are doing Preparing for Work Part 1, Resources and Skills to Ensure Career Planning Success. So this is a webinar that it's a lot more in-depth details about what we discuss in transition meetings for special education. So what comes after high school? How can you better prepare for that? Then on Friday, February 6th, at the VFW Hall in Thibodaux on Tiger Drive, we're having our Mardi Gras Masquerade. This is something that we are putting on with South Central Louisiana Human Service Authority, and it's just a fun opportunity to come out, have fun. Everything's going to be Mardi Gras themed. We're going to have king cakes and other refreshments. We have a DJ, and it's for all the families to come out, socialize, because sometimes just seeing that there are other people who are going through something similar gives you a little bit of relief, makes you feel a little bit better. And it's always fun to go dance around in public, right? Then next Tuesday, we are doing our Understanding Individualized Health Plans, your child, their plan, their health. This is going to be something where we're going to be reviewing, and this is with our Family to Family Health Information Center. We're going to be reviewing the parts of a health plan to help families better understand how they work and how they're developed, because that plays a huge role in having a good health plan. Then on February 20th, we are it's our Youth Leadership Forum for our 10th through 12th grade students with disabilities. It is just going to be giving information about a summer camp opportunity that works on leadership skills with students with disabilities. And that's going to be along with it's Families Helping Families of Acadiana. And this is our parent support group that we're having on February 18th. What we do with our support groups is we provide some kind of education. With this last one, we had done, it was our LaCan legislative advocacy agenda. So we let them know the different things that we'll be advocating for with our legislators. Another one, we had one that was, it was the early start, Ready Start, I don't remember. I think it's Ready Start program with the schools. So that's the pre-K early intervention program. So we provide a little bit of time of that type of education, and the rest of the time it's for families to sit down and discuss what kind of trials or triumphs they've had in the disability world. And we invite families to bring their children. They get to come hang out with me for the fun stuff. I have musical instruments, games, a karaoke machine. So we just have a really good time while the parents get some valuable information and they get to socialize a bit. We have our LaCan Region 3 Roundtable, and that is on February 26th. We're inviting all of our legislators to come out so that we can discuss the disability world issues that we see in our community. But it's not just the negative things that we bring up. We want to bring up the positive things too. So we let them know that, and then we'll be discussing our advocacy agenda there as well. And then on March 6th, this is a hybrid webinar that it gives 2 continuing education units to nurses and social workers. And it is Adolescence and Disability Insights into the Physical, Social, and Emotional Development. So this is going to be hybrid. It's going to be offered virtually through Zoom. And it is also going to be in person at I believe it's the East Bank Regional Library in Harahan. So thank you guys for having me. If y'all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Uh, Let me start all over again. I want to thank you for coming because I did reach out to you because I want the parents to understand that we can work in partnership to get what the children need. It's a partnership. We all work for children. We're all advocates for children. And it's not about, I'm going to get the school district. It's about what we can do together to get your child to the 12th grade or wherever the situation may be. So I'm just sorry that we don't have a big audience of parents because we put it out there wanting them to come. And I thank you guys for coming because now you understand a little bit more about what the services are provided and what we can provide and help you do. So I wish next time you can bring somebody along so that they can understand what really we want to do. And reach out to your principals, reach out to me. Right now, I think parents just go straight to the superintendent and forget the part that we could help before it gets to that part. So I thank you for that. And I thank you for bringing up the part with the SROs, what their roles are in the schools, especially with our clientele, our kids, our babies, and also about the resolution with the state. You know, parents say, oh, we're going to go to the state, but the state brings it back to us. And then we have to go to mediation and do all of those types of things together. So I'm just wishing that, you know, we had more here to hear really what we can do together as a team for children, all children, not just the children in St. Mary Parish, but the children across this state.
Oh,
I have worked with
absolutely.
you before. I mean, we have done some things together before, and we just need to continue to have a good working relationship alongside the parents.
Yes, and a lot of times it's just miscommunication, misunderstanding
Mhm.
whenever it comes down to it, a lot of the complaints, and you know this, whenever I have parents who are coming to me and they're like, we need to file a complaint. I'm like, well, who'd you talk to so far? Well, I sent an email to the superintendent and I'm calling you. It's kind of like, well, did you talk to the principal? Because principals aren't always in the classroom.
Mhm.
So they don't always know what's going on. And a lot of times, and I'm going to say, I've said this to Ms. Deborah several times.
Mhm.
I know that if they would know about it, they would not be okay with it and they would
Mhm.
fix things
Mhm.
that may not be
Mhm.
completely intact.
Correct.
So a lot of times it's just communication that's the key.
Yeah.
And as far as not having a huge turnout over here, I've always said, I used to do pageants when I was younger, and I've always said, anything to make the world a better place.
Yes.
So
yes.
to change the world, you only have to change one person's world.
Correct. Correct.
And that makes all the difference. So
Yes.
thank you for having me, of
Well,
course.
Ms. Pierce, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It looks like 7 parishes
Yes,
that y'all
ma'am.
service. Is the Thibodeau office the closest office to St. Mary, or
It's
is
the
there?
only office
It's
in
only
Region
one.
3. So there is another office that would be in Region 4, and that's going to be the Lafayette office. So
Okay.
Families Helping Families of Acadiana. But if you guys would call them, they would say, oh, no, you're going to have to call
Gotta
Region
call
3.
Bayou Lane. I'm just curious for
So-
transportation purposes and things like that.
Well,
if y'all
and
are
that's
in
why-
Thibodeau.
And that's why we do a lot of
Mhm.
hybrid options. And we do offer, when families want to have meetings with us to go over an IEP or
Mhm.
a 504 plan, that's something that we can say, well, if you can't get out here, we can send you a Zoom link.
Great, that's good.
So,
That's good to
so
know.
we have, the wonderful world of digital, right?
Yep.
So we do have that
Yep.
availability and accommodation for
That's
parents.
good to know.
So,
Thank you.
Well, Ms. Jackie, what I'm going to do with the rest of your brochures, I'm not giving them back to you. I am going to put them in the schools
absolutely, please do.
and let the principals know that if a parent is having issues, please let them contact you and contact us. First, start with us.
And
if-
I'll
if
say
they're
this too,
satisfied.
if school personnel, or I'll say at the district level, the school level, if y'all have things that y'all have concerns with, I can bring that because I meet with the State Department of Education.
Wonderful.
I contact them at least monthly.
Okay.
But it's something that I can have that discussion with them. In fact, we're going to be meeting, I think it's this month, that we're going to be meeting again. I just saw them on Thursday, in fact.
Okay.
So it's one of those situations that it's kind of like we could have those conversations.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll always do what I can.
Yes. Okay, well, don't think you're getting away because I might have to have you at one of my principals' meetings.
Girl, just let me know. And look, if you'd like for me to send you, I can send you our brochure in a PDF.
Send it to me in a PDF so that I
If
can
I
share
could send
it.
you,
Okay.
look,
send it to me.
you're gonna get to the point where you're gonna be like, oh, she sent me another email.
No, we need to know. I need that information out there to let parents know we're here to help you and you're here to help us. And if we work together, it won't be so combative. That's what I'm trying to get rid of.
Exactly.
So-
No, we're here for
So
it.
I need to put this information out. I need to flood it out so that they can understand that.
Absolutely. And you let me know when you need me to come back.
I sure will.
Well, I'm saying thank you again, but I do want to reiterate that she said there is a parent support group because at one of our meetings, we had people asking about a parent support group. So that's one thing that I was like, okay, yes.
And look, it's hybrid. So if they want to show up, it's at 5 p.m. It's usually the last Wednesday of the month. But because of holidays and other things that we had previously scheduled, we ended up moving it up to, I think it said it's the 18th. It's the 18th.
Miss Jackie,
So, yes, ma'am.
if you could send that to me, I'm sure that if I can get that to Dr. Sanders, she can put it on our webpage
Of course.
so parents can have access to it.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do you one better. I'm gonna add your email address to our mailing list.
Okay.
So
Okay,
you will
wonderful.
get all of our flyers weekly.
Okay. So that we can put it there so that they can have access to it and see it and use it, because that parent support group is wonderful, so that they can have that added support.
We do have our Facebook page. We do post everything to our Facebook page. So that's another outlet for parents to use as well.
Okay. But I want that link so that they can have that link to go to those, if it's virtual support meetings, they could do that. Most parents can do that.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we are going to move on to new business item number 2, which is an update from Ms. McClarity on the Special Olympics.
Turn the mic on. We're going to have our track and field meet in April. I'm still working on the date, but I do have the school. All of the kids will be participating. All schools will be participating. And if you've been before, you know it's a wonderful thing for our students. But it's going to be at Berwick High School. All the kids will be transported by bus. Avery, is you getting excited because it's at Berwick High School this year? He's on it. And it's a wonderful thing. And I'm just hoping, I'm waiting to set the date because if you know, last year I had to change that date 3 times because of weather. I mean, I'm not putting a wheelchair kids and kids out there in the rain, or if it had rained overnight, I'm not doing it because it's too slushy and I want them to have a great day. So just hopefully, y'all know April showers bring May flowers, that we can get it in April and not have to change the dates so many times this year. But that's forthcoming. It'll be on our website and all of those things. Okay? Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on to item number 3, new business. We are going to set the dates and times for our upcoming Special Education Council meetings. Okay, so any suggestions? Do we like the time at 4:30? Remember, I know when we first started, we were later, but then we moved it sooner. Is 4:30 okay?
I definitely like Monday. I like
Me too.
Monday.
Monday, okay.
So, I mean, 4:30 is fine. If it needs to be back a little further, it's fine. I just really like Monday.
Avery, you good with Monday?
Is 4:30 working? Is that good?
4:30, okay. Miss Jen, you like 4:30? Okay. So we know Mondays, 4:30.
So, Ms. McClary, what dates did we do this year? What months? Do you remember?
We do September, November, and December.
We usually do the first week that we normally do.
We could do a January instead of a December
Well,
to do after all the holidays.
That's what you want.
So, September 7th, the first Monday is Labor Day, so it would have to be the 14th if we do that.
September 14th, not gonna work. We had a law conference.
Okay.
If you look on page
The Monday
7
September
of the
21st.
minutes, for some of the minutes we haven't been able to vote on yet, there's all of our dates, September 15th, November 17th, and January 26th is what we had
So the
previous,
14th
for
is
last
the
year,
law, so
or
we
for this
might have
past
to do
year.
the 21st.
Are we okay with September 21st for our September meeting? It is a Monday.
Okay, so September 21st, Monday at 4:30,
Okay.
and then we need to look at November. The 2nd? November 2nd,
You wanna do November 2nd?
which is the first week in
First Monday?
November. Right now, I don't have anything. Okay, so November 2nd,
And then y'all wanna do January and let all the holidays go by? January 11th? I don't know, cause we gonna be back that first week. That might be hard. January 11th might be
so
busy.
mid-January maybe, the next
Maybe,
week?
Yeah, we would have to do like January 25th.
Okay. So we're looking at September 21st, November 2nd, and January 25th. Everyone is okay with those dates? Okay, can I get a motion to accept those dates? Can I do, oh, we don't have to do that. We don't have to vote. We can just decide. So, we're good. Okay. Still new, still learning. Okay. All right, so we set the dates. So we're going to move on to our last item, which is comments from any members or attendees. Do we have anyone? Questions or?
I actually had a meeting today with Gary Driscoll on some shirt stuff I'm doing for the sheriff's office, and I mentioned to him wanting to see about getting some more education to our law enforcement for dealing with kids with disabilities, with autism, and because you see horror stories. I see horror stories all the time. They don't know a lot of the time that a child has autism, so they think they're being aggressive, combative, anything of the sort. So I'm gonna meet with him again pretty soon to kind of see about getting the law enforcement that's on the road more educated, more than just the SROs who are in the schools, but our local law enforcement here.
Allison, we used to, my office, Office of Special Education, when David Knockin was sheriff, we used to have at the beginning of the year for all the officers to come in and we would do a presentation on autism. Maybe you and I can talk about that and we can get back to doing that. Because the SROs in the schools are covered, but just
Right.
like you say, out in the field, at their homes, if they go out on a call, they don't know how to address those issues. I don't know how somehow we got away from that, but we need to get back to it. So that's something you and I need to talk about. And the person who does that presentation in my office, maybe we can have something at the beginning of the school year for them, or maybe during the summer. Don't we have all the officers come in, Dr. Sanders, during the summer for safety meetings? Yeah. So,
Right.
if we could have, going back to my office, have something at my office for just the regular sheriffs and the Franklin Police Department, because we have schools here and the Morgan City Police in Berwick, to come in and just have maybe a half a day of autism training. And maybe I can get Jackie to come in and partner with me to do that.
It's needed because
It is needed.
I was a cop for a long time, but until I had a child with autism, I wasn't ever sure.
And I'm
dealing
gonna be honest
kids
with you, I
and-
talked with him about that at some meeting we were at, and we just never got back together on it. So you and I need to connect so that we can get it done.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
told him, I said, because they do new academies, they do police academies a couple times a year with new cops. I was like, call me, I'll bring my son and walk in and won't say a word, and they can just watch him,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then we can discuss
But,
it. But it's
you know,
something
because
that no two autistic kids are the same, and these guys on the street, they don't know what to look for.
they don't. And our kids are being lost in the shuffle and they're getting hurt because
Yes.
they're not as combative as the officers think that they are. You know, they have issues and we have to recognize this and teach them to recognize this. So we need to get together, you and I, and have maybe a full day with them because they are paid officials, so that's not a problem. But it would be navigating that during the school day for my people.
Absolutely. And I also got with him something that I've been kind of putting a little plan together on that I want to do is for example, if me and Spencer are in the car and we get in an accident,
Yeah.
Spencer can say his alphabet backwards, but he can't tell him my mama's name is Allison.
Yes.
So I want to get something implemented to where a little sticker of something of sorts on the windshield that indicates that cops go to the glove box. And in the
Jackie has her
glove
hand
box-
up back here. You got something on that?
Yes, and I did see that, but what I want to do is I want to implement a QR code system to where if this comes up, they go to the glove box, they scan a QR code, and it'll say, my name is Spencer Wilson, I have autism, my 3 emergency contacts are this person, this person,
Oh, I
this
see what you're
person.
saying.
You can put YouTube on to keep me calm until somebody gets here. That way they have a little brief snippet of history about the child and what will keep the child calm if I'm passed out or knocked out or God forbid dead. That way they know how to interact with him until they can get an emergency contact there. And that's something that I've been trying to put together slowly that I want to, because I don't want it just to be local. Because all cops in the state need to know to look for this. So it is something that I do want to, I'm, at the bottom of my ADHD is starting to build, but I want it to be a statewide thing to help for when situations come and if the child's nonverbal or can't communicate that way, they know, okay, here you go, Spencer, here, watch YouTube till Dad Chris gets here, type situation. So that is something I am starting to slowly put together that maybe we can all kind of work on because there's nothing like that for these kids. And that's why, and I've seen, I didn't see, it's called Roth, you said? I didn't know what it was called, but I did see those, and I'm like, I own a decal business. I could cut QR code stickers, put it in the glove box, put it on the inside driver door panel. It's something that is accessible if the glove box gets damaged. Oh, well, let's go check here. You know, it's something that it's easily accessible and quickly accessible for, God forbid, in the situation it's needed.
For starters, you can go to the DMV and you can register the primary car that the child rides in as, autism or whatever. There's a little paper. I just did it. And you get the sticker with the little, it's, a Louisiana sticker with the puzzle piece, and you put it on your car to help designate.
I didn't know that.
And then we just got his actual real ID with an autism symbol on it. So you have to bring a
maybe
paper
there's a way
with
we
it.
can feed all that together.
Yeah,
That way
there's.
it's,
You see, this is, I know we have to go, but this is something parents need to know about. Things like this. You know, you have your sticker on your car for Avery, because you've been advocating for Avery since forever. But parents, other parents don't know that they can go to the DMV and get this. Okay, and so you see, those are types of things that, you know, we need to put that information out for parents. So we got a lot of work to do, but we're gonna get there, you know, little by little. Just like you said, it only takes one, and we move forward. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, well, this was a very valuable meeting. I thought we were very productive. Anything else before I adjourn? Nope. Okay, so this,
Motion to adjourn.
oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I need a motion to adjourn. Miss Elodie's supposed to
I
tell me
move for adjournment.
that. In a second.
a second.
Okay, so we have a motion and now I can adjourn.